Hey everybody, it is now June 20th, 2007. I am Sonic Suns, and I'm doing another video for Enation. So, I put up a video about a couple random ideas that I talk about, and then Barry puts up a video mentioning a few of my random topics, and then going off with his own, and I think this is the flow we're going to go with, at least for now. We each just kind of respond to whatever anyone else happens to be interested at the moment, and perhaps stay on that topic, and perhaps move on to other topics, and perhaps just, it's actually kind of how normal conversation works, right? You're talking to someone for 3 hours, and then you think back, like, yeah, we covered 18 different subjects. The difference here being that the conversation is eventually meant to include a whole bunch of people, and we're meant to come up with good ideas about how to make things better in the world, in general. We think big. So, I'll follow up on things that you followed up on, or at least a couple of them. The Mideast problem, the supposedly intractable situation, which, by the way, you noted that in Northern Ireland, that seemed intractable, and progress was made. Maybe progress was made here. You say that the current democratic system, well, the current political systems, that is, democratic or otherwise, aren't really working. Maybe. You gotta define exactly what we mean by that. Certainly there's not really enough communication if people can continually get the idea that everyone on the other side deserves to die. Particularly civilians, I've heard about, obviously there's like suicide bombings which intentionally target civilians. Well, that's deplorable. And then on Israel's side, not that they ever target civilians, but, they go to war, or they have conflicts or whatever, and civilians do get caught in the crossfire. Or civilians, for instance, may suffer, not bullets, but checkpoints and other things, which I've heard they've maintained to a degree greater than is really necessary for their security. There's a certain level where you're protecting yourself, and then there's a certain level of it beyond that where you're angry at everyone else for being so violent towards you, so you start locking down on everybody. But if you lock down on literally everybody, everybody outside of the mainland Israel, whatever, then you just get more people mad at you, which causes more problems, more violence. Ugh. It's messy. I'll probably get to a more thorough video on that subject in a while, but in the moment, that's just what we were talking about. You mentioned being issue-based, and the problem with the 1-2 group you said was deciding what issue we should focus on. Well, that's part of the idea of this, is that we don't pick one issue to focus on. No more than Wikipedia picks one article. Like, imagine how crazy that would be. Like, okay, guys, this week we are only going to edit the article on dogs. And the next week is the article on the Milky Way galaxy. And the next week is the article on laptops. And next, no. We don't have to do things one at a time. We can do many things at once. Polyphony, which is what I'm doing right now. This video has several subjects to it. I'm interested in what you said about the prevalence of American culture in English-speaking areas, and heck, even in non-English-speaking areas. Everyone have been amazed by how much English you can find in Japan. Like, I don't know this, but if you get, like, some Japanese media or whatever, and you get, like, a magazine, right? And you see all these Japanese characters, and SALE! Like, S-A-L-E. Japanese characters, Japanese characters, Japanese characters. Copyright. Japanese characters, Japanese... We don't use Japanese characters in America, or in any other country, far as I know, right? We use our characters. We use our rating system. Once in a while, they borrow ours, though. Interesting. And then, of course, there's various loan words, like computer is computer, and typewriter is typewriter, and cake is cakey. Most words are not that obvious, but it's funny when you run into things like that. I don't know. I guess it's because, there was Britain was a huge superpower for the longest time, so it was advantageous to learn English. And then came America as being a superpower, And then during this time, we start moving into the internet age. Things start moving faster, and culture spreads more quickly than it once did, right? Information flows faster. So, I guess that, yeah, as you said, 95% of your films apparently are made in America. Wow. Wow. We should get around to seeing some Scottish films here and there. Something like that. I don't know. So I wonder what that means for culture in general. Well, some people in the globalization thing have been afraid of all the cultures kind of meshing into one big thing, homogenizing, and we lose diversity, which to an extent we may. At the same time, these things like this YouTube and all really encourage diversity. Like, each individual person can have their own individual channel and doing their own individual thing, and you can just pay attention to whichever other people you like. Wherein it used to be, I don't know, for media, there were like 3 news networks, and you had to pick from one of those 3, and they weren't all that different. And now there's like hundreds of channels, and not to mention YouTube channels, and then, etc., 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 etc. Interesting stuff. We mentioned, let's go with, how you feel about America. There's a nice benefit. We have at Enation right now. This goes right into the do what you can when you can. What we have right now, one of our advantages that is an international body. It would have been very easy to create, a group that just so happens to have all Americans. I mean, if there's only 10 people, it's easy if all 10 of them are from one country. Well, we got, I know at least 4 countries, I think, are represented, and probably more. So we can start getting perspective on each other, which is nice, because, yeah, I don't really know very much about how other countries view our country. Because you're right, Americans, there's a fair amount of America. There's a lot of people here. We're busy enough, with our own affairs, I guess. And we're a freaking superpower, so, we can afford, or think we can afford, to ignore everybody else. See how long that lasts without getting us into trouble. Foreign policy, right. We've been arrogant, I would say, recently. Or reckless, at least. Let's just mention the Iraq War. Like, hey, I can see how Saddam Hussein was a nasty guy and all that, but you really you really messed things up here. We invaded, and then like 3 months later, he's like, we're like, mission accomplished, this is great, and then years later, we're still there, and there's continuing violence, and there's, a president who apparently doesn't appreciate the nuances of things. Like, I could, I could see, I would say, look, here's the situation. We've got some major progress made, in certain areas, and we also have some major problems in some other areas. And really, it's quite a mess. I don't know what to do. We're gonna figure this out. I'm gonna talk to whatever. I don't get a sense of that from Mr. Bush. I get a sense of, if you're not with us, then you're a terrorist. If we don't do this, then the terrorists win. If you don't listen to me, then the terrorists win. If you don't, support this war, then you don't support the troops. What kind of ridiculous nonsense is that? How obviously we can support the troops and hate the war. It's like, I'm supporting these troops by sending them into battle. Well, maybe the troops would like to come home. People keep insinuating that. If you hate this war, you must hate the troops. No, see, I love the troops. I love them so much, I don't want to see them get killed. I want to bring them home. Unless, of course, they can actually get some victory where they are. And, victory is not really forthcoming over there.